everybody. Jeffrey Denman here with Safe Options Strategies. Welcome to another episode of the Moving Markets Podcast. Today is Wednesday, the 7th of February, 2024. U.S. stock market had a good day today. The Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P all up today. A handful of those companies that really got hit Monday and yesterday did a lot better today. Not a whole lot of news driving things, but certainly some good positive things for the market. So we're going to get into that and more. Make sure you take a minute before the presentation is over to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like. Check us out at sostrades.com. We've recently made some. We've changed around some of the stuff with our Triple Play program. It's a fantastic, easy, affordable way to participate in what we're doing, unless you want one of the more full education programs. But make sure you take a minute and take a look at what we've got going on there. We're already off to a phenomenal start this year, already on pace to match what we did last year. And last year we did over 114% in our returns. So be a part of that. It's not something you want to miss out on. Going to be kind of a short podcast today, not a whole lot to talk about. Might be a little bit more tomorrow and Friday as we wrap up the week, but let's get you right into things. Thanks. So pretty decent day in the stock market today. If you look at where the three indexes finished, Dow Jones Industrial Average up 156 points, the S&P 500 up 40 points, the NASDAQ up 147. That's a big move up on the NASDAQ. And look, the NASDAQ was up because all of those tech stocks that we talked about yesterday that I think were getting beat up because of a little bit of this interest rate fear. And I did a long podcast yesterday, spent a lot of time with that. But they all managed to come back today. Just a couple of, we could pull up a few charts of it. Amazon down 2 days in a row, back up today. If we put in Microsoft here, Microsoft getting beat up a little bit 2 days prior on Monday and Tuesday. Big rebound today, back up. I think Microsoft had an all-time high finish today. They've actually touched a higher spot in terms of their overall trading, but they finished higher than they ever have before. So great day for Microsoft. NVIDIA, monster day on NVIDIA. Another $18 a share to the upside. They are, one bad day yesterday, and then that train just keeps on going. And NVIDIA is just incredible the way they're going right now. AMD got beat up for a couple of days, not really turning in an upward direction on one day's trading. And you can see that volume is tapering off. But when you consider how they reacted to their earnings report, I think AMD is strong and healthy. It's still one of my top picks for the year. I think there's a huge upside to this stock. And I wouldn't hesitate, even at 170 and some change, I wouldn't hesitate getting in to AMD if you're not already in there. Meta, I believe, had a kind of an ugly last couple of days. Some of that was just some profit taking because of their huge day up last week on Friday. But Meta rebounded nicely. Their second highest all-time finish next to last week Friday. And these companies for the NASDAQ really led the way and really showed some strength today. And I think I mentioned this a little bit when I was really going off the other day in the podcast about the fear of interest rates staying high and how that can disproportionately affect NASDAQ stocks. I think I also mentioned that what contrasts that and is sort of sitting there a little bit in the background of all of that is the FOMO. That is very real, and a lot of people are looking for any 1 or 2 day downward movement on one of these big Magnificent Seven stocks, and they're seeing it as a reason to jump back in. It's like, I missed out the last time, I missed out the last 2 or 3 times, I've got to get back in. Even Tesla had the benefit of a nice up day in spite of a lot of the negative press coming from both their earnings report as well as Elon Musk and some of the bad press that he's had. Tesla was one of the few that was up yesterday, kind of in the face of everything else. And I'm not convinced that Tesla is not still a good stock to own. I'm not sure that I would jump in before seeing technical crossovers. I think before I jump back into a new trade on Tesla, I would probably want to see the MACD is really close. I'd want to see a technical crossover on the MACD. I would want to see that 5 and 20-day moving average crossover, and I'd have to see that RSI cross back over the 50 mark. But if that happens, and if it did happen, in theory, it would be right around $200, which also happens to be Probably your strongest psychological level of resistance going back to the upside is right there at about 200. You could make a case for maybe 205, but I think if it turned and started to go back up somewhere around that 200 to 205 mark, if I got all three of those technical crossovers, I'd be jumping back in big time on Tesla and not be afraid to own this one a lot longer term. So you've got these companies, and then I don't own it and I rarely trade it, but let me not leave Google out of the mix because it's part of that Magnificent Seven. Um, they also they haven't really had they had that big kind of got beat up on their earnings report, but they've been getting a little bit back every day since then. And I think it's because people realize that maybe Google didn't report some things that they wanted, but this is still a really strong, really good company. So, in spite of the fact that they were up just a tiny bit yesterday, instead of being a part of that sell-off, they had an even better day today from terms of an up day, and that just added to it. So you've got these companies that are doing really fantastic, and they're going to continue to do fantastic, and they continue to be the leaders just of the Nasdaq, but of the whole market. In the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Dow had an up day today, pretty solid, pretty decent day. The Dow was largely up on the backs of I left Apple off, but Microsoft, Home Depot, um, United Health, those are all very heavily weighted companies in the Dow, and they all had good days today, all up 1.5% or more. In the case of Microsoft, up 2%. So that was really leading the way for the Dow. And I, like I said, Apple had an up day, although barely. So it's just a good day all around. Not crazy, massive, gigantic moves to the upside, but a good day all the way around, and nothing to balk about. The one big drag that might have, it's not a big enough company to have really altered things dramatically on what the Nasdaq did, but Snap got horribly beat up today. I know at one point in time, I don't remember if I saw exactly where they finished. They finished down. Snap finished down $6 a share for a 34% drop. And look at that volume. That's massive one day volume for this company. And they really took a beating. And I'm a little bit surprised by this. I'm not surprised by an earnings miss. I'm never surprised anymore if a company beats or misses their earnings. I don't even try to predict it. I think that's a fool's game to try and predict whether a company's going to go up or down following an earnings report. They can have spectacular numbers and offer a poor guidance, and this company could tank. That's what happened to AMD that first day after their earnings, and they've been rebounding a little bit since then. Same thing with Google. But I didn't expect this big a drop in Snap. I own some shares of Snap. I have for a while. I've actually done pretty well on Snap, made some decent money on it, but they are struggling. And it'll be really interesting to see if they continue down and go back down to that, $8.50, $9 a share range, or if they can get a little bit of a dead cat bounce and get a little bit of a bump. I'm surprised. I didn't know this before today, and I feel a little bit guilty not knowing this because I have owned shares of Snap for a while. I didn't know that they didn't have patents on any of their features or technologies, and so everything that Snap makes that people like, it gets snatched up by Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all these other platforms just snatch up their stuff and use it, and there's nothing Snap can do about it. I didn't know that about the company, and that's really foolish in my opinion. So maybe my ownership in Snap is going to come to an end pretty quick. I could get out of everything I own in Snap and still be profitable. So maybe it's time to put my money to work somewhere else. I've got it protected. My position is well protected in a collar trade. So we'll see how things go. But that was the one drag on the Nasdaq from the standpoint of, well, it wasn't the only drag. I think today you also had Amgen took a big hit, as well as JD Com. JD Com Incorporated. So it wasn't all good news on the Nasdaq, but Snap certainly added to the pain and the pressure there, and had a really really ugly day. So anyway, not a lot going on tomorrow and Friday, but there's always geopolitical news that could move things. There's always, someone could come out and make a comment. Janet Yellen could open her mouth. Joe Powell could open his mouth. They could say something stupid at any point in time. The president could say something stupid. The other guy running for president could say something stupid. There's all sorts of stuff that could go on that could affect the markets, that could rock them to the downside. But I suspect this rally is going to continue and we're going to finish the week a little bit up. It started out rocky today, got us a little bit back. I think it'll finish up just a little bit on the week as a whole. The jobs report does come out tomorrow, and that's always a possibility of affecting the markets in a way. So we'll see what actually happens there. But I'm not expecting anything big or anything really earth shattering with that number. So have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks as always for tuning in. We'll see you. You'll hear me in tomorrow's podcast. Thanks, everyone. Bye.